Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. So I was going through the editing on this and I realized that I don't have an intro for this episode, so I needed to do one. The problem being, this is actually the first project that I filmed for the channel, and it is the 72 International Scout that it's in pretty rough shape. I picked up last year, and for a lot of reasons, it took me a long time to actually get around to editing that footage. And seeing as how I didn't want it completely left out, I wanted to actually get it edited and share it with you guys. So that being said, it is really old, and I've learned a few things since then on do's and don'ts, and audio is a big one because I really have to apologize. The audio in this footage is really not great, and yeah, I'm sorry. But bear in mind, this was last year. This was like the actual first episode, well, part of the first episode that I filmed, the first project that I filmed for the channel. So cut me a little bit of slack, please. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and with all of that now out of the way, this is basically me going through the fuel system, the brake system on the Scout, and trying to get those dialed into where they kind of work, to where I can kind of drive it and do stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the bulk of today's episode, and I apologize for the long intro, but it's better than no intro, because otherwise you wouldn't know what was going on. I mean, you might know, but there's no backstory to it, and now you guys know. So I want to thank you guys for watching, at least this far, and hope you enjoy the rest of the project. Alright folks, so here we are underneath the back of the Scout, and getting ready to drop this fuel tank out over here, and just wanted to show you the fine example of plumbing that we've got going on in here. There's obviously kind of a rat's nest of tubes going everywhere, and originally I believe there would have been a fuel vent assembly, kind of a canister type of deal over here in the fender well, and that's obviously been removed and, let's just say, expertly deleted. So we've got this surplus of, let's just say, questionable fuel lines been installed under here. So before we get much further with this fuel system, we're gonna have to go ahead and address all of this, and at the very least replace these hoses, and maybe put some new bolts in here. This stuff is, as you can see, isn't very flexible anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and get the fuel tank out and see about getting some new hoses in here. off my carburetor rebuilding tray, and I want to say I left it right around in here somewhere. Maybe somewhere right around here. More disassembly on our fuel tank pickup. Pulled the old screen off and it's just super deteriorated and rotten anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and at least get a replacement for that. The other thing is the line inside the screen, as you might be able to see there, it's completely plugged with varnish, so there was no way this pickup was going to draw anything out of this tank because that line's just plugged solid. The other thing I noticed is I popped the float off. It clips on the end of the arm here. So popped it off and it seemed a little heavier than it should be. This is originally just a brass, a hollow brass tube basically. And it shouldn't be heavy. It should be nice and lightweight, but this one's got some weight to it. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it's full of fluid. It's old gas, varnish, what have you. It's full, so that means there's a hole in it. So it's obviously no good. Went ahead and wiped some of the varnish off here, and you can see that there's a crack right across the end of the float, so she's definitely no good. So now we have a choice. I can buy a new float, I can buy a new pickup, or I can buy the complete new sending unit assembly that comes with a new float and a new pickup, new seal, everything. So I've got the carburetor pulled off. This is a Carter BBD. They were used on Mopars, Jeeps, Internationals, most everything with 2-barrel carburetor that wasn't Ford or GM. Used one of these, so it's a pretty basic carburetor, pretty standard. So I'm just going to throw a rebuild kit in it. I'm going to throw in some footage that I shot previously showing the insides of this thing. The reason it was flooding over is we had a bunch of bugs packed in there. If you remember when we tried to get it running the first time, we saw some little bug nests on the inside of the throat. Well, they packed the accelerator pump housing plumb full of bug nests. In addition to that, the float was pretty much glued to the bottom of the carburetor. I had to work it a little bit to actually get it loose and get it off. So I had previously cracked this thing open to be able to ID the kit because this is previously remanufactured carburetor. The tag to ID it was completely gone, so I had to get some specs on the carburetor to know which kit to get. So I'm not going to get super in depth on what you're doing as far as how to rebuild these kits. They're really standard, just remove and replace with like parts. Doesn't have to be too complicated, just make it happen. So I'm just going to crack it open, replace all the various gaskets, seals, and needles, seats, stuff like that. We're going to check the float adjustment, and we'll move on from there. We'll see about getting the gas tank addressed. We've got to get that cleaned up. I did not buy a new one. Figure we'll just try to get the varnish and garbage out of that one, salvage it, because frankly I don't want to pay for a new one. The fuel sending unit, I looked at trying to salvage it. The gauge side of it was dirty. I cleaned it up a little bit. Still wasn't quite right. The pickup tube was just plumb plugged up, completely full. So I could have gone in, bought a new sock, bought a new gasket for it, got the sending unit cleaned up a little better, but the float was cracked. It was completely full of gasoline, varnished gas. So, you know, for I think $58 is what I paid for a new sending unit. They range $50 to $80 depending on where you find them. Picked up a new one, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in there. did buy a new fuel pump because after a bit of running, our old one just started hemorrhaging fuel out between the seat of the pump. So it was just dried up and garbage. So I have that to put in. So I'm doing this over the course of a few days. So if you see me in different clothes, that's why. So let's get to it. I'm going to show you guys once again. This is the accelerator pump housing. You can see it's just packed full of bug nests in there. So that was part of the reason that wasn't cooperating so well, in addition to being just dried up and garbage. Furthermore, our float was just completely glued, varnished down to the bottom of the float bowl, and I actually had to kind of pop it out of there because it was heavily stuck. Alright, got the shop holder, hold the carburetor all set, ready to go. Get reinstalled. Plop her back down. There's our leak. Apparently the diaphragm's probably ruptured, as that's the fuel in, that's the fuel out to the carburetor. So the fact that it's leaking there tells me the diaphragm's broken. So that's a weep hole. Got new fuel pump. Just want to make sure that the arm here matches on both of them, which it does. So let's throw this guy on. Worked on cleaning this tank out, did the usual cheap way out, threw a bunch of rocks in it, tied it to the tractor, and ran it around in circles for a while till my straps broke off the wheel. So, is it clean? No. Is it cleaner than it was? Maybe. Will it work? Hopefully. We'll find out. There's only so much dirt that I can take straight to the face. I gotta break out the old dust shields. No, it's not what I said. You're supposed to go. Yeah, wait. Make you better. You're supposed to work. Maybe. Maybe. Right. Line it up. Come on. Stay. Stay. Hold it. Stay. Come on. Get started. Start. I think we have a winner. Alright, here we are again. I stayed and fiddled with this thing last night and got everything replumbed, all fresh line, all the lines blown out and clear. So now we're going to go ahead and fire this thing up. I did start it last night, so it is drawing fuel from the tank. So that's great news. So I'm going to go ahead and start it, and then we got to check out the cooling system, make sure it's holding, because I suspect it's not. It looks like there's a leak or something in the radiator we're going to have to locate. And then we're going to have to tend to the brakes, which there aren't any. So yeah, let's get to it. Definitely got a shake to it. I don't think it's quite firing on all six the way it should. So we're gonna have to do a tune-up on this thing. Our hole right there. So the real reason behind this truck is, you know, the 6-year-old needs his own Scout because, you know, he's 6 and he's going to be driving soon. So we put him to work. So get all the 9 needles and 3 out of here. So he's going to pull the screws all the way around this panel. We're going to get that off and vacuum it out. So make sure you put the slave labor to use. Meanwhile, he's doing that, I'm going to completely ignore the radiator leak and go ahead and work on some brakes. And the brake knuckles. New master here. Got my bench bleeder hoses attached, and yeah, they call it bench bleeding, but I'm going to do truck bleeding instead. Throw this up there and bleed it in place. Get it on there. Come on. And like that. Somebody help me with this. That's not where that goes. I'm getting snagged up over here. Holy jeans and holy trucks are just a match made in heaven. It's like Velcro. They just stick together. Alright, well, you're gonna come help me bleed some brakes, bud. You're gonna help me bleed some brakes.
Why?
Why? So your truck stops. Why else do you need brakes? So when we're careening down the hill, at least we can hit the brakes and lock up all the tires while we're careening down the hill. That way we have skid marks going right into the tree. Put a little bit of juice in it. Put the pedal up. Push the pedal down. Push it all the way down. Good. All the way to the floor. Okay, now I'll let it back up. Push it again. Alright, let it go. Push it again. Good job. Let it go. Push it again. Let go. And push it again. Let go. Let's see how we're doing. Ah, yeah, we're looking good over here. Do it again. Whoa. Gently. You got the hood on? Because it's raining? That's a novel idea. Well, I'd like to say I'm a little astonished by this, but went to start up the truck again and, well, it didn't want to start. Wasn't getting no fuel. And after a bunch of troubleshooting, our brand new fuel pump is leaking out the weep hole. So it's gonna have to come back off and get replaced again. Stay tuned for part 2 or 3 or whatever the next part is. Stay tuned for the next part.